So you lived in Oaxaca, señor Steyer. Un placer tenerlo en Telemundo. We're finding out now that you spent some time in Mexico and Oaxaca.
Yeah.
Let's start where we're at right now, right before the Nevada caucus. What's the game plan?
To win Nevada. Our team in Nevada is overwhelmingly Latino. We actually are really focused on this community. I have my family has a history in terms of working with immigrants from Mexico and Central America of 35 years through our church, through a program called Good Samaritan, welcoming people to San Francisco without ever asking for papers for 35 years. My wife was the head of the program. We've given more than $1 million.
What do you think about the border wall?
Mr. Trump's immigration policy and the wall and his rhetoric is straight up racism. What he has done in terms of the way he's treated people seeking asylum, mostly from Central America, is not only illegal by international law, it's breaking the laws of humanity, and he's been involved in torturing children and committing crimes against humanity as far as I'm concerned. So what do I think about it? I think that that's the exact wrong attitude in terms of immigration. I think it's racism. I think he's scared about immigration by non-white people. It's very un-American. I would end it on day one. I would reform ICE on day one. I'm for DACA. I'm for DAPA. I'm for reinstituting TPS.
So what would be a non-racist solution for the border? Because we do have the issue with organized crime with the cartels. They're not only in Mexico, they're in Nevada, they're in Southern California, they're in Arizona. We do have issues. So how do you secure the border if not with a wall?
But to be fair,
what's a non-racist plan?
To be fair, the people that the wall is not how we're stopping people from coming in from the cartels. The cartels are coming in through the checkpoints. So he makes that confusion, but that's an intentional confusion to try and vilify Latinos who are coming north.
One of the things President Trump has not done is visited Mexico. And it seems like he keeps going to Europe. He's been doing all these trips, but he hasn't made a trip to Mexico, Central America. Mike Pence was down in South America. Was that a mistake for him not to visit these countries and start building a relationship? We already know there's turmoil with Mexico because of the history. Should he be in Mexico? And tell me, what do you know about Mexico and its president?
He should be going to Mexico. Of course he should. Look, this is a country with which we have an incredibly close relationship, where we have a shared border that people have been going back and forth over for hundreds of years. I'm from California, as you said. We have basically 40% of California is Latino. It was originally part of Mexico. Yeah. So when I think about the relationship, it's really deep and intimate. And of course, we should not only be going to Mexico and Central America, but we should be realizing that until those countries are stabilized, people are going to be fleeing, not because they want to leave their home, but because they're fleeing persecution or violence or seeking a better life. And that's partly something, dealing with that is actually a much more constructive way to think about immigration.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Can you tell me what you know about Mexico, about its president and about the current government? What do you know about Mexico?
Look, Mexico has had an issue in terms of governmental control for a really, really long time. Mm-hmm. And there has been a question about not just narcotraficantes, but really the question about how the government relates to the people in terms of the PRI controlling that country for so long. And the question, and really about having a system of laws.
I'm sorry to interrupt you because we're running out of time. I'm just interested in your thoughts on the president. What can you tell me about him?
I don't know that much. I mean, I've read about him, but I don't know that much about him.
What do you know about him? Being that he's the neighbor to the South, very important to whoever's president of the United States.
They elected a left-wing guy who's very progressive, who's the absolute diametric opposite of Donald Trump. And the question is, how are we going to get along with that guy? How are we going to find shared values? How are we going to come to a place where what he's looking for works with us?
Do you know about his policies?
I think he's a very progressive man.
I'm asking because I feel like a lot of the times, this is our neighbor to the South, and a lot of people don't even know his name. So you know.
I forget.
Do you know his name?
I forget, but I'm just saying, I followed this policy.
I'm sorry, we are Telemundo, and our viewers are Hispanic speakers, and you're running for, you want the candidacy to,
Yes.
represent the Democrats, but you can't tell me the president
No.
of Mexico. You don't know who the president of
I
Mexico
followed
is.
this. Look, I followed this election. I've
Don't
watched
you think
what's
it's
happening.
important to know who the neighbor to the south is?
I
though?
do, but let me say this. I followed this election from the standpoint of he was the mayor of Mexico City. He's a progressive man. I followed this policy from the standpoint of what does this mean for him getting along with us? What does it mean for him getting along with a right-wing nationalist president of the United States of America? And how are we going to relate to that? And so to me, I followed that very closely because there's a real question in Mexico. Where are they going with their policies? This was a true change. This was a distinct change. It's not. So have I met him? No. Do I go to Mexico every single year? Yes. Do I understand that Mexico is at a crossroads in terms of how it is governed? And this was a distinct choice that scared the pants of people, of business people in Mexico and the United States.
Right,
yes, I
because
do.
of his policies. One of the things he's been criticized for is doing everything Donald Trump tells him. But it's a whole nother conversation. But
Well, there was that whole question about who was going to pay for the wall. That was insane. Of course, Mexico wasn't going to pay for a wall. That made he would have been out of office the next day if he paid for the wall.
I know we're running out of time. They're wrapping me up. But to our viewers, Telemundo viewers, Spanish-speaking viewers, the majority are of Mexican descent. In fact, a lot of people who vote in the U.S. for president can also vote in the Mexican election. My point is, I just asked you what you knew about the president of Mexico, and you didn't know his name.
But I do know a lot about it.
Exactly. You did mention his politics. It changed from PRI.
Where he's from.
What do you say to those viewers, to these viewers who speak Spanish? That's our neighbor to the south. What do you say to them? I'm from California. You have done a lot of work helping the Hispanic community.
I have.
Which is here. But what do you say to the viewers after not knowing who Andrés Manuel López Obrador is?
Because what I do know is who he is. I do know what he stands for. I do know the history of Mexican politics. I have followed that. I go to Mexico every single year. And I understand that unless we have a relationship with this country that is close and cooperative, we're never going to take a step forward.
Por el coronavirus continúa. En Nueva Jersey, 4 ciudadanos chinos que viajaban en el crucero Anthem of the Seas fueron transportados al hospital ante la posibilidad de que tuvieran la enfermedad.